MMORPGs are making a little bit of a resurgence over the next few months, with some new exciting releases and expansion packs. I want to run through 4 of the biggest new releases on their way, and some of the reasons why they might be worth checking out. The 3rd expansion for Guild Wars 2 End of Dragons is set in Xing Li Island, with big ties to the original Guild Wars game. To be honest, the feature I'm looking forward to the most are skiffs, which are your own personal boats that you can take anywhere in the world, and this will pair up nicely with the new ability to actually do fishing. Sometimes MMORPGs focus so much on the combat, they forget about the relaxing little side activities like fishing. It's features like this I've been craving for a while. Every existing class also gets a new specialization. These are like advanced classes. I'm kind of interested in my new Necromancer specialization, which is Harbinger. This specializes in pistols with corrosive bullets and elixirs. I do generally prefer playing a ranged class in Guild Wars, especially in the larger scale battles in World vs World content, so pistols sound great. You can also drink harmful elixirs that inflict blight on yourself. Then in the typical Necromancer fashion, you can convert the harmful effects from those elixirs into beneficial effects to power yourself up. I still need to catch up and get the Icebrood Saga story chapters completed. This is actually something I've been working through on the side, but I keep getting peeled away from the story by things like World vs World, and I end up getting addicted to it. If you're not familiar with Guild Wars 2, World vs World is where 3 servers battle it out over fortresses and objectives in week-long battles. But let's see if I can get all caught up for End of Dragons in February, because I really want to do some skiffing and fishing. The next big upcoming MMORPG is New World. This one is exciting because this is an entirely new MMO from an entirely new studio, Amazon Games. I personally want to take a dive into this blind and experience what this has got to offer, and I'm always more willing to give an MMO a try when there's no subscription fees attached. New World is set in an alternative history in the Age of Exploration, around the 17th century. The game has you washed ashore on an unexplored island called Eternum, and it's filled with supernatural secrets. There's no races, and not really any classes in New World, unlike traditional MMOs. Sadly, you can only play as humans, which might put some people off. I find it really boring playing a human in MMOs. I mean, that's what we are. I want to play something different. And while there aren't any classes, you'll be able to equip different weapons to gain access to different abilities. As you progress, you'll make your own custom build and playstyle through your weapon choice, as well as assigning attribute points. New World is going to have your typical PvE style questing and dungeons, but there's also a big focus on PvP, in the form of the War Mode, where 50 vs 50 large-scale battles take place between factions and over control of territories. Controlling territories ties in with New World's pretty cool housing system. This is probably what intrigues me the most when it comes to New World. Organizations can take control of settlements, then communities of players can buy and build houses in that settlement. In these settlements you can craft, trade, work on town projects, take on faction missions, and even decorate your house. Groups of players and guilds can go to war over control of these settlements, and then the controlling faction can even charge taxes to those that own homes in the settlement. Some really interesting stuff that's pretty uncommon in MMORPGs these days. New World has already been delayed multiple times, so fingers crossed when this does release at the end of September it's in a polished state, but I'm still expecting there to be tons of server issues in its first week, but we'll see. Final Fantasy XIV is getting its new expansion, Endwalker. This is going to be massive because this is the culmination and ending of the current main story, which started over 10 years ago, so I'm really looking forward to the finale of this saga. One of the new features is the Island Sanctuary. We've not actually seen this new style of content in action, but it's been described as a location where you'll live off the land, raise animals and cultivate the earth, all while soaking in the sights of this beautiful paradise. It sounds very Harvest Moon and Stardew Valley-like, so fingers crossed, this is good. There's been a bit of a shift in the MMORPG landscape recently, with Final Fantasy XIV exploding with so many new players, so many that Square Enix are having to upgrade their server technology. If you haven't played Final Fantasy XIV before, it does have a subscription fee, but it's also partially free to play, with the base game and first expansion available in a free trial. If you're a very story and character development focused gamer, then you might want to check this out. Unlike the MMORPGs I'm talking about today, there is not a big focus on PvP with Final Fantasy, but it is an option. This is generally considered to be more of a PvE focused game. As usual, there will be new jobs to unlocking players. The healer Sage, which looks very different from previous iterations in previous Final Fantasy games. Sages make use of an array of floating devices called Nulifs, and you'll use these devices to heal, protect and look cool. And the job that most players are really looking forward to is the Death Scythe wielding Reaper, an entirely new job to the series. Reapers delve into the void to make use of souls they've slain, binding themselves to powerful wraith-like minions. The badass summons Anima and the Magus Sisters will be returning in Endwalker. I was first introduced to Anima in Final Fantasy X, and he's a powerful badass, so looking forward to fighting him. Well, technically, I guess it's a she. Male Viera will also be a new character option. Female Vieras already existed, but due to popular demand, their male counterparts, the Bunny Boys, are being added with Endwalker. I'm kind of expecting the streets to be filled with bunny people now. Ashes of Creation is a game a bit further down the line. It doesn't have a release date, but it's currently in alpha testing. Ashes of Creation promises a dynamic world that reacts to your actions, as well as lots of risk and reward gameplay. The world itself evolves over time with settlements growing and building up NPC populations in live time, unlocking more quests, developments, and bringing about change in the settlement. You might need to rush to the defense of cities or towns you've invested in, or you might be the one joining the attack. There's large-scale battles in World PvP and PvE. Players start with a choice of 8 archetypes of classes. Players eventually pick a secondary archetype, and you combine these 2 archetypes to create your full class. There's an astonishing 64 possible combinations, from paladins to necromancers, and for me, this is one of the most appealing parts of Ashes of Creation. I imagine it's hard to balance 64 classes, but the developers have already stated they're going for a more rock, paper, scissors balancing approach, where different classes will be stronger and weaker relative to each other and within different situations. Classes will be balanced around group play. There's also big plans for player housing, with multiple forms of it. I want to focus in on freeholds, where you'll be able to hire your own guards to defend your land against other players, produce goods with farms and fisheries, and you can run taverns that will provide quests and services to passing players. Already the potential for Ashes of Creation sounds insane. It's still early days and hopefully they managed to pull this off. This is something you might want to keep an eye out for going forward. So across the board with all the new MMOs, one of the new trends is more of a focus on gathering, crafting and player housing style content. I'm really looking forward to all of this. For the past decade, MMOs have become very formulaic, and there's been very few successful developments within the genre. I prefer my MMOs to feel like living worlds, so hopefully these new features and games do well and help evolve the genre. That's some of the biggest updates and newcomers coming to the MMORPG industry in the future. Are there any MMOs you're really looking forward to? Let me know in the comments, and peace for now.